Well, hey, thank you all for coming to the last part of the main HR compliance series. Katie, I just got your text asking where Harold Alfond Hall is, so very very efficient. But anyways, I'm glad you were all able to all come on probably the coldest November day in the last 100 years or something. But anyways. We've got a great program for you today on making your company an employer of choice, and then we're going to wait a couple of months, and we're going to restart the series in February. We're going to have one in February, in March, and one in April for different subjects. One of them is going to be on employers, seasonal employers, and you know the different issues that they have to deal with, and then we still don't have the subjects for the other two, but we're going to send out a survey after today's show, and we'll ask you what subjects you may want to see, and we'll be able to choose speakers and venues and all that. But anyway, so thank you for coming. As you know, making yourself an employer of choice is very, very important because a lot of you are competing against companies much larger than you that have budgets for social media marketing and a whole army of recruiters and all kinds of branding, and you don't. So it can be tough to compete. So what we've got today is two speakers. Our second speaker is Shannon, and she's going to talk about the importance of culture and promoting your culture. But first we have Rich Brooks, who's the CEO and founder of Flight New Media. They're the largest social media marketing company in Maine, and he's going to talk about tips and tricks and all that. He's actually bit of a celebrity. He's on the Channel 6 show, 207. He's also been on Huffington Post and other national media outlets. So please welcome Rich Brooks. So thank you. Thank you.
So I appreciate that introduction. Not to toot my own horn. Oh, what an arrogant way to start off a day, right? Not to toot my own horn, but I was one of the first social media practitioners here in the state. I was one of the first people talking about Facebook and presenting on LinkedIn. I put on a conference with a couple of other people called Social Media FTW. We brought in like 400 people for several years to come to this event. And for a long time, I had more Twitter followers than anyone else in the state, including politicians and the news organizations, but a lot has changed. And over the years, as companies come to me and they say, hey, I really need your help with social media, I've actually been kind of de-emphasizing the whole social media aspect of things. And a big reason is because social media has become a lot more competitive since the early days. And there's a lot more congestion in all of our news feeds. And then there's these things called algorithms, which change our ability to actually reach the very people who want to hear from us, especially for businesses and we're on Facebook. So I've been telling businesses who come to me and say, Rich, I really need your help with social media. I'm saying you probably need my help with something else, because really the best reason for social media these days is either for branding, because you want to get people to know, like, and trust you, or for recruitment. So when Jared asked me to come and speak, my first reaction was actually I was pretty hesitant about this, because I don't usually talk on HR matters. I'm usually just talking about marketing and how do you reach more of your ideal customers through search, social, and mobile marketing. But in this case, I guess social media really does make a difference. And I want to just stress that social media does not make you an employer of choice any more than wearing a leather jacket makes you cool. It's just a matter of social media, you can leverage it to help get that message out. And so that's a little bit of what I want to talk to you about today. So I'm sure you know better than me why this is so important. Right now, the unemployment rate in the U.S. is 3.7% at the latest statistics that I could find. Maine's is even lower at 3.3%. And I just recently saw this, 11% of candidates, even those who are unemployed, won't take a job with a company that has a poor social standing. And we've all seen reports about millennials and how they want to make sure that their job is a force for good and they want to find meaning in their job. So they're just not going to take every single job that comes along to them. And right now, because it's such a competitive marketplace, We really need to make sure that people see us as the most attractive choice out there. So why use social media? Why would social media be the right way for you to amplify your message? Because it's an amplifier. The bottom line is you're probably using ZipRecruiter and Indeed and Monster and all the other platforms in your website to get the word out. But the bottom line is nothing is going to help make your message go farther for cheaper than social media. It really does, you start using these platforms, you need to start thinking of yourself as your own media company. And you can publish on all these different platforms for virtually free. Another thing is it's an accelerant. And I've been saying this for years. Social media is neither good nor evil. It just makes things go a lot faster. So if you need to get the word out about new job openings, there's nothing better than social media, because not only are you putting it out there, but when you put your message out right, it gets shared to other networks as well. So that's a very powerful tool. And the third one is reach. Now, when you put a job out on Indeed and some of these other platforms and whatever tools you may be using, job fairs, whatever it is, you are obviously getting in front of active job seekers, but you're not always getting in front of those passive job seekers. And social media has an opportunity to put you in front of people who didn't realize they were looking for a job until they saw your company. And using different tactics, and we'll talk about a little bit today, you're going to be able to get in front of your ideal candidates even if they didn't know they were looking for a job. So there was a brief introduction of me earlier. My name is Rich Brooks. I'm the president of Flight New Media. We're a web design and internet marketing company located down in Portland. I also put on this annual conference. I put on Social Media FTW for 3 years, and then since then I've been putting on my own conference called the Agents of Change. And it's been going on for 7 years now. Happens down in Portland, and also it's live streamed around the world. We have people from all over New Zealand calling in or watching the event live, so that's pretty cool. We bring in about 400 people for that. We bring in speakers from all over the world. So if you are interested in social media marketing and digital marketing, feel free to check that out. That's also a weekly podcast. So if you like this marketing and social media stuff, it's free. You can go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcast and check that out. As mentioned, I am the tech guru on 207, where I do hard-hitting news stories like where the best recipe sites are online and how to take better pictures with your smartphone. I'm actually on tonight, unless something really exciting happens in the world today, and then they bump me, which often happens. I'm going to talk about algorithms and how algorithms on sites like social media and Facebook change the way we see the world. It's actually kind of a neat topic. I was glad they decided to go with that one. And then I wrote a book called The Lead Machine, the Small Business Guide to Digital Marketing, where I basically just talk about how small to medium-sized businesses, especially here in the state of Maine, can take advantage of the internet and grow their business. So in other words, I know a lot more about social media than I do about HR. I guess that was the point of that slide. So when we're putting our message out there, we need to think about what resonates with our ideal candidates. And according to a lot of research, there's a number of different things, and a few of them are people want to see community involvement. They want to see that the companies that they work for are somehow involved in helping others. They want to see employee recognition. They want to see that you value the people who work for you. They're interested in the company culture. Everything, can they bring a dog to work? Is there going to be potlucks on Thanksgiving? Whatever it is that makes your company unique. They don't want to just be sitting in a cubicle the rest of their lives. And of course, perks and benefits. There's a lot of different ones that work, but these are definitely 4 things that people are going to be drawn to. And really, if you're going to be an employer of choice, it's not that you're necessarily the best in every category. It's that you're the best in the most important category for that person. And so again, social media is a great opportunity for you to be able to share what makes your company unique, because you're looking for those interesting people that are going to come and fill the right slots, hopefully. So just as a couple examples, like the community involvement. So this is Cliff Bar, and so this is their Instagram account, and they're saying, we sustain communities, we believe in giving back, encouraging our employees to volunteer in their communities during the workday. In other words, we pay them to volunteer. Now obviously, if you're somebody who's looking to make a difference in your community and you know that you're going to be able to take part of your workday and put it towards helping others, that's going to be a big message. That's going to make Cliff Bar an employer of choice. So if you're doing things, and this is the important thing, maybe you're already doing these kind of things in your community, but if you are, you're going to need to use social media to leverage that to get that message to go further. Obviously, it's nice to know that a company that I might be looking at for a job is a employer of choice. So here we have from Facebook, Town & Country, promoting the fact that they again won one of the best places to work in Maine. And the Credit Union Journal said they are the best credit unions to work for in 2018. By the way, if I happen to use your company as an example, I didn't know who was going to be here today, feel free to shout out and we'll give you a round of applause. People also don't want to feel like they're caught in a dead-end job, so this was an interesting post I saw on Twitter from the Life at Google account. So this is a career account specifically for Google, and basically telling the story of Angela, who started in one department and grew into software development. And as you can probably tell from that photo, there's also a video to accompany that. So video is also another popular platform for telling a story, to present yourself as an employer of choice. And video is so easy to share online through social media. And of course, it's great when we say things, how awesome we are, but it's even better when somebody else says how awesome we are, especially somebody who already works there. So Intermed is doing a good job. They've got a whole series of these promoting the employees. And so this one is saying, after being a nurse for 6 years in a variety of settings, I'm so thankful to have finally found an RN position that allows me to have such a great work-life balance. I love my job. So really hitting it out of the park, because talking about life-work balance, talking about the fact she's been in other places, she has experience, none of them matched with this. And then of course, and this is a great testimonial because it's long enough to be interesting, short enough that it doesn't lose my interest, and I can actually see this person. So it doesn't just feel like it's some generic thing that was written up by somebody in communications. This is a real person who works there, and then they're just promoting it on Facebook. And then company culture. And again, it's not about being the coolest, although hopefully if you worked at Spotify, that would be one of the coolest jobs you ever had. But it's about just promoting whatever makes your company unique. So this is Spotify. They've got an open mic night. They had a live band playing. They shared that on Instagram. Of course, for a lot of their ideal candidates, that is exactly what you want to get out of your work. This is from L'Oreal, and this is an Instagram post from the roof of their offices in Russia, doing yoga under the sun. And yeah, that looks pretty awesome. Now, of course, this is totally framed. I mean, nobody really puts their shoes at such a perfect angle and leaves their products out like that. It happened to be by L'Oreal and lays on a bright purple blanket doing yoga, but you know, whatever. It is a nice photo. And again, people are following. This is not L'Oreal, the company, but the actual, this is another career profile. This is L'Oreal Talent. And then locally, here's Might in Maine, a branding agency in Portland, and they're just showing, you know, they like to have fun. It's a pumpkin carving contest. They're calling out some of their competitors as well, and a company photo. And so if you are a creative person and you're graduating from Mecca, which is where a lot of their employees come from, this is the kind of thing that they want to see, because this is the kind of workplace they'll want to be in. So those are just some examples of the kind of messages you want to get across, but let's talk about some of those channels, some of which we've already mentioned, but let's talk about some of those channels and maybe the strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, the biggest one is Facebook. Now, I assume everybody in here has a Facebook page. Can I just see by a show of hands, who here has a Facebook page specifically for careers as opposed to the company? Does anybody have a separate one? Few hands? Okay. This is Microsoft Life. So this is a careers page at Facebook, and this is actually a really good post right here, talking specifically to active duty service members or veterans, promoting this. And obviously there's a lot of patriotism going on right now, and so this is something that even if you're not necessarily a veteran or in the armed forces right now, this is something that does resonate with a lot of Americans. So they're putting it out there, people are able to see it, and it's a free webinar that they're putting on. So this is great. Now, here's the thing with Facebook. Years ago, when we posted something to a Facebook page, 80 to 90% of our fans would see it. These days, if we post something to a page, whether it's a careers page or a company page, the average percentage of people who see that is about 1 to 3%. So if you have 1,000 fans, what is that? 10 to 30% of the people who like your page might see that as they're quickly whipping through, trying to find what's up latest with their friends and family. So there's just not a lot of visibility on Facebook for business pages, and business pages include career pages, unless you're going to put some money behind it. So just be aware of that. Now, if somebody's an active searcher, then it's likely that they might go to your company page or your careers page because they want to learn more about it. But just be aware that you're not going to get any passive candidates from doing organic Facebook posts. And by organic, I mean just not putting any money behind it. Here's another example on Facebook, and you can kind of see down here in the right corner, this is also a careers page, that they've got the little pop-up box, and you've probably seen this when you go into certain pages recently, like you can engage with the page right away, and it will send them a message, and then they can message you back. I took this screen capture because I couldn't find what I was really looking for, which is a chatbot. Has anybody here using a chatbot yet on Facebook? All right, well, this is a great opportunity for 2019. So a chatbot, you can use software to create these chatbots, and it can just ask people questions when they come to your page. And then it gets them into a cycle. And basically, you could think about it like an email newsletter, but much more immediate. And instead of having an open rate of 19%, it has an open rate of about 98%. What you would do is you might say something like, somebody comes to your page because they're interested in your company, working there, and you get a little pop-up window in it. You could ask a question that almost demands a response. Are you looking for a job for you or for a loved one? They answer. Once they answer, they're locked in. All of a sudden, you can be having a conversation with them. This can all be pre-programmed. And this could be a way of like, are you interested in applying? Let me get your email so I can send you an application. Once they've done this, there's a couple of, if you get a certain amount of yeses or if you get them to say something specifically, now you can actually automate a series of messages to them that will basically be delivered right into their Facebook Messenger. So this is a very powerful tool that I'd recommend you checking out for 2019. And then video. It's interesting. Long-form video doesn't seem to work very well on Facebook anymore. Like they were promoting Facebook video for a long time, and now they seem to be kind of not promoting it quite as much. This is Machias Savings Bank, talking about like what they're doing in the community. Again, community involvement. I don't know if they put money behind this or not, and you can't read it, neither can I, but there's like 400 plus reactions to this video. There's 35,000 views of this video, and there were over 400 shares as well. So they're getting a lot of engagement. They invest a lot in their video. Like Machias Savings Bank is all in on video, and then they share it through a lot of different social channels. But again, they are getting great visibility on Facebook, and then they're getting people to share that video as well. And this all just comes down to making sure that you're an employer of choice. Instagram is another great platform, especially if you're sick and tired of hearing about politics. There's very little politics on Instagram, which is why I like it better these days. But again, you see a lot of companies presenting themselves as employers of choice here. And Instagram is a lot about lifestyle, so it's a lot about company culture. It's a lot about the visuals behind what it's like to work at your company. So this is Marriott Careers, and they basically show scenes in the life of a lot of their employees, and it's hard not to see that and be like, damn, I want to work there. Who doesn't want to serve a dog a beer at a bar? I mean, that looks awesome. And you can see actually, it was interesting. Hi, I want to know about job vacancies or about internships. So they are actually getting interactions right there on their Instagram account by posting admittedly adorable photos like that. LinkedIn is another powerful platform. There's a couple of different ways I might use it. One is LinkedIn is still more of a person-to-person platform rather than a business page. Their company pages are very lackluster in most cases, but so as an HR professional, I definitely think you should be promoting new jobs and talking up the workplace and sharing things from other employees to really present your company as an employer of choice within that news feed. But there are company pages, and obviously you should be leveraging them. The bigger you are, the more sense it makes to have one of these pages. So this is WEX, and you can see basically by default you've got the overview, you've got the jobs, which I've highlighted here, and it just lists all the jobs that are currently available. And then also there's a life one, again, video, what it's like to work at WEX, trying to make it as sexy and interesting as possible. And then there's Twitter. Twitter was my favorite platform. These days, it's hard to get a lot of visibility on Twitter unless you're a celebrity or the President of the United States. Those are like the two groups apparently that are really big on Twitter right now. But there is still people on Twitter having real conversations. And one of the ways, or some of the tips for using Twitter to show yourself as an employer of choice, first of all, there should always be a photo, or there should always almost be a photo in every single one. In these three examples, each one has a photo. Videos are also very powerful too because they'll show an image right there. So that immediately makes that tweet a lot bigger on the page when people go to it. Also, the use of hashtags is critical on Twitter. So I know these are hard to read, but this is the first one on the left is a job, career placement company, and they're talking about hashtag main jobs, hashtag NH jobs, hashtag jobs near me, and a few others as well. Now, this one obviously, actually, when I put it up, I realized they didn't know what they're doing because they say link in bio. Link in bio is totally an Instagram thing, so somebody on their social media team just copied and pasted and didn't think about you can actually put a link in Twitter, unlike Instagram. Over here we have Bowdoin, and we have employment in Bowdoin, so that's a career account as well. And we've got a link in there, and we've also got hashtag main jobs, hashtag work in Maine. And then this is a developer company, and they've got hashtag tech jobs. So if you are going to be posting stuff on Twitter, make sure that you use use a photo or use a video, and use a hashtag that's being used by the people searching for you. Now, these are very much call to action posts, but certainly you can be sharing the same thing on Twitter as you are on Instagram as well, in terms of like that company culture sort of thing. And then YouTube is another social media platform that a lot of people forget is actually social media. But if you're doing a lot with videos, there's no reason not to be putting your videos up to YouTube as well. Admittedly, people are probably not going to YouTube first to look for jobs, but as they learn more about different companies they may want to work for, one thing that a lot of people will do is go check out the social feeds. And if they see that you've got a YouTube channel, then they're going to go there. And so here, this is Machias Savings Bank. This isn't a specific career account, but this is just all the things they're doing, but they were just chosen to be one of the best banks to work for in the nation, which is pretty good for a small little bank here in Maine. And so they had a video that they promote right there on the home page. These days, if you're putting your videos anywhere, you should also be putting them up to YouTube as well, because you're just going to get more mileage out of it. People are not going to watch a 10-minute video on Facebook anymore, or at least the number of people who are so small, but they will watch that 10-minute video on YouTube. People are just used to more long form videos on that platform rather than some of the others. And then there's Pinterest. And it was interesting because I searched high and low for any company that really had a strong Pinterest careers section, and I couldn't find one, which is crazy because there's like 1,000 different accounts for careers coaches, career counseling, all that sort of stuff, how to prepare for your first job, all these sort of things. So where are you guys? Like, any one of you could be succeeding at this on Pinterest by having a page dedicated to careers at your company, posting them, but also just posting other types of jobs, other types of job tips, reposting other things. There's nobody else there. So to me, it felt like a really good opportunity to be there because, again, it depends on who you want as candidates. But if your candidates are on Pinterest, then you should be there too. And Pinterest is a very visual platform, both for images and video. So again, if you're trying to tell the story of your company, if you're trying to talk about your community involvement, if you're trying to show the perks and benefits, how cool it is to work, the amazing workspace that you're in, those are all things to do. When we're hiring people at Flight, one of the first things I do is I go take some more pictures out of our back window, which looks onto Casco Bay. I don't tell people that that's my office. They're not allowed in there. But the bottom line is that's how close we are to the water. So some other considerations that you want to keep in mind as well as you start thinking about how to leverage social media to become an employer of choice. One is, should you have separate career profiles on these different social media channels? And really this just comes down to, do you have enough activity? Are you hiring enough people? Are you trying to bring in enough candidates that this makes sense for you? Because obviously, if the company's managing your social media accounts and you get to occasionally throw something in there but you don't have a lot to say, that's fine. But if you need more time, that's time that's going to take away from some of the company messaging. They may not want to be promoting all the time that they're looking for workers. They may want to be talking about other things. If that's the case, then it might make sense to have a separate careers page, profile. Live video. So on Facebook and on Twitter through Periscope, you can do live video and you can answer questions in real time. So rather than going to a job fair, what if you just did a session where you would, ask me anything in the HR department? And you would obviously need to promote this, but you'd get people to show up at a certain time and a certain page on either Facebook or Twitter and just be able to answer all their questions that they have. So if you field enough questions that you think it's worthwhile, then that might be something that would be really interesting to do as well. You just need to make sure that you're promoting it heavily enough. Retargeting. So this is a little bit outside of social media per se, but retargeting is when, if you've ever gone to Amazon and you saw a pair of shoes you really liked, but you didn't buy them, and you went to Facebook and there were the shoes, and then you went to Fox News and there were the shoes, then you went to CNBC, there were the shoes, your friend's blog, there were the shoes, and finally you're like, okay, internet, I will buy your shoes. That's retargeting. Very effective form of marketing. And the way it works is when somebody goes to one of your pages and doesn't take a desired action, you can basically follow them around the web, nagging them until they finally break down, cry, and take your job. So if they go to your careers page and they don't actually fill out that application form, you can follow them to Facebook and show them photos of the last time you helped clean up the beaches or worked in a soup kitchen. They go to Fox News, say, and you can show them all the job openings that maybe they didn't get a chance to look at. And then they go over to, the New York Times, and you can show them an employee testimonial. And after a while they're looking through their jobs, they're going to suddenly say, hey, your company is a really cool company to work for. Maybe I should apply for that job after all. Be active on Glassdoor. This is not my area of expertise, but I saw enough terrible reviews for companies all across the nation that you have to be there. And when I work with companies on services like Yelp and TripAdvisor, I often say you have to be active there. Whether somebody leaves you a good review or bad review, you should be responding to almost every single thing. Same thing with Glassdoor. I did find a couple companies that were really good, even for the negative reviews. People who said, there was no room for upward mobility, and they would say, I really appreciate you sharing and all this sort of stuff, and we're looking at this and we're trying to make it a better company based on your feedback. Just things like that shows the next person who sees that review, well, at least they're paying attention. Whether they're giving it lip service or not, at least they're paying attention. And then also, not social media, but don't forget your website. Whenever I talk to businesses, I'm always like, you need to own your own platform. That's usually your website. You need to have a career section on your website. Maybe it's just one page. Maybe it's an entire separate website. That really depends on your needs. But have that website. And this is a great example. I was doing some research for nursing homes. And this one, American House, let's guide you. Are you here for yourself, a loved one, a new career? Click on a new career and you go to the careers page. So what is your website doing? Is this something you can talk to upper management about to make sure that there's a really good place on the website that you can tell your story about why you are an employer of choice? So what is this going to take for you to actually, when you leave here, what are you actually going to need to make these things happen? Well, first is obviously time. Even if you are already an employer of choice, but just not enough people know about it yet, like if you are involved in your community and you are doing all these employee recognitions and you've got these great benefits and these great perks, the bottom line is somebody on your team needs to be taking photos, taking video, documenting this, and then sharing it on social media in all the right places. That does take time. Is that going to be you? Is that another employee? Is that an intern? Or does it just get one of those things where, yeah, we should totally get to that at some point in the future? It takes money. Yes, it's free to set up a social media account, but obviously your time is valuable, and if you're not doing that, if you're doing this, you can't be doing something else. And also, once you start getting into things like advertising those jobs on Facebook or doing some of that retargeting, then we are talking about a money budget. So if you really do feel that that's going to benefit you, this is a perfect time of year because it's budget time and you need to go talk to somebody about increasing your budget so you have an ad spend in 2019. Tools, bottom line is it's tough to constantly be posting stuff to social media. That's why there are tools like Sprout Social or Hootsuite or TweetDeck that allow you to, and Tailwind, that allow you to automate and schedule your social media posts, especially on Twitter. Bottom line is the half-life for a tweet is about 15 minutes. So you need to be, if you've got a message, a new job or something awesome that happened that you want to share, you may need to post that a number of times in the first day and a number of times in that first week. You don't want to be like making sure that you're doing it 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., but you can just use these tools to schedule that all out at the beginning of the day, the beginning of the week, and then you can just forget it. Set it and forget it. And then the last thing you need to decide is this something you can handle entirely in-house? Or do you need to bring in an agency to help you do that kind of work? Is there somebody who, do you have it in-house to do your retargeting if you decide to do that? Do you know how to run Facebook ads? Do you have the time to put this together? Or is that something that's better off outsourced to somebody else because you have more and better value that you can provide for your company? Questions?